Hi there, this is a quick review of the Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter lens and using it in conjunction with the Sony a6000, which you can also use it with the 6300 and the 6500. But in order to use this lens, the Sigma, you need a converter, the Sigma converter, which is called the MC11. This is a high quality product. It feels high quality. Simply unscrew the caps, which are on currently. This end goes on the camera side, this goes on the lens. Simple, easy peasy. There will be a little bit of play when it's attached to the Sony a6000. Tiny bit of play, it's no big deal, it's hardly noticeable, but I just wanted to share that with you in case you're like, hey, there's a tiny bit of play, maybe it's broken. Well, it's not, it's just very little. Okay, so once it's attached to the Sony a6000, it is quite lopsided, as you can see. I've got a, what is it, a 18 to 50 on here. But this is basically what it'll look like. I don't want to attach it right now on video because it, it might take some time. I have a separate video on that which has no voice. It's just unboxing of the MC11 and attaching this lens to it. So I'll link to that below this video if you want to see it. Anyway, as you can see, this camera is really small. Awesome camera, love this camera. This lens is super heavy, so it's going to be a little bit awkward at first to use. I'm a pretty strong guy, and I still get tired when I'm out for a few hours with this lens. So keep that in mind. It is heavy, and I would also recommend, if you're going to be doing a lot of wildlife or sports photography, to get a monopod. I have not used the monopod as of yet. I don't know, maybe I'm lazy or something, but I do enjoy this lens. The picture quality is just superb in my opinion. I'm not a professional, advanced amateur. I'm working on it. So I do recommend this lens, although keep in mind it is heavy. Some say to get a gimbal because it's so big, to keep it completely stable. And gimbals are cool, except they're big and bulky. So if you need to move around, you should at least have a monopod. Okay, so this has the autofocus mode, manual override, and manual focus. It's a feature which is pretty cool. Manual override means that you can simply turn the focus ring and it'll manually override, so you can manually focus it. I usually just keep it on autofocus at this for my photography currently. Of course, you got your standard depth of field. You have your image stabilization feature. This is a really cool feature. It has, you can turn the image stabilization off, or you can put it to 1, which is for standard photography, which I keep it on usually, or 2, which is for aggressive panning shots of motorsports or whatever. So try that out. So if you're trying to get a shot of a dirt bike rider and he's going pretty fast, or she, and you need to pan, you should put it on 2 and just test it out. Of course, then you've got your custom settings. Another good feature is this lock. So if you need to lock it at a certain, if you're focused in on something, you're doing a long exposure, you can lock it so it doesn't adjust or come loose, because it does come loose, especially if you're walking around with it. So if you're walking around with it, and this happened to me, I forgot to lock it. It came all really long. So that's a nice little feature. This lens is just under $1,000. This is the contemporary version. There's a sports version which is just under $2,000, I believe. The sports version is just a higher quality version of this, meaning that it's like weather sealed, and I think it's got a few other bells and whistles. I'm not really sure, I haven't looked into it, but I really like the price of this lens. But I don't just buy things on price, I buy them on the results, and the results are excellent. So I will put a link to my a short article with images I took with this lens below this video, so if you want to go to the website and see for yourself what the images look like, I'll put a few in there. A couple of them are interesting in that the shots were taken of, for example, elk really far away, and it was super windy. So I had a couple blurred shots because the wind was so heavy, and I was not using a monopod, I was hand holding it. So it was moving around. But I did get some really sharp photos, so that shows you that the image stabilization in this lens is really good. And again, so if it's not windy, it will move around, and you're not using a monopod or a gimbal or a tripod because it is so heavy. So keep that in mind. I think that basically covers it. Oh, the last thing, I just wanted to show you in comparison. This is the kit lens that comes with the Sony a6000. This is a 55 to 210. I love this lens. I mean, it is a kit lens, and by just the definition of a kit lens, people go, oh, well, it can't be that good. Well, this one is really good. I've gotten great results from it, and I just wanted to show you the size difference, the weight difference. I find myself, when I'm going out, just grabbing this lens if I'm going to be doing some basic shooting. So if I know I'm going to be doing some, like for surf photography, for example, or I know the subject is going to be quite a distance away, I will get this for sure. But I find myself grabbing this a lot just because it's easy to attach, it's light, and the results have been great. So I just wanted to mention that. And I'll link to this below the video as well. I'll link to all these. I'll link to the MC11, which you'll need. It's a very good product if you're going to attach it to the Sony camera, the Sony a6000. And this is for the Canon version, by the way. I should mention that, so hopefully you're sticking around. This is the Canon version of this lens, so it will also attach to my Mark II Canon, but you'll need to get the Canon version to attach it to the Sony a6000, okay? And you'll need the MC11 Sigma converter. Okay, thanks for your time.